Hello, hi everyone, and again, welcome to another episode of the Powering Progress podcast. And this is where we look at the many different ways in which we can accelerate and support the careers of underrepresented talent. And it is an opportunity to speak to guests with a wealth of knowledge and expertise around this topic to hopefully give you more insights, more ideas of what can be done to really make an impact. And today, really looking forward to the conversation today. We have Marsha Dixon Terry with us, and Marsha is the founder and CEO of MDT Career Coaching, and she partners with organizations both in UK and internationally who invest in current and emerging leaders. Marsha loves working with a diverse range of leaders with different life and career experiences, and she's worked with clients in a range of sectors, including financial services, grant-making foundations, health, higher education, media, retail, technology, just to name a few. And she delivers transformative career and leadership development programs, career empowerment workshops, and one-to-one and group coaching programs. So she really is the perfect person to talk about this. So it's great to have you here, Marsha. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm really well. Thank you so much for that introduction. Loved it. Thank you.
No worries. So I know full well how much work you do in this space and how much insight you have. So I'm sure everyone listening will really benefit from it. The first thing I really love to ask you is, what does powering progress of underrepresented talent mean to you?
Yeah, I think the first thing I want to say is that it's not been about being interested, but it's been about commitment. And I think that's really important. It's about being really focused, committed, and it's really about organizations taking time to consider different needs in different ways. So I think that's really, really important. I think the other thing I want to say is that one size doesn't fit all. Sometimes there's a tendency to group people. And I think it's really important in that spirit of authenticity and that really powering forward piece to really look at talent, to really understand it, and to really see the impact that it can make in different ways.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing. And that's so important, isn't it? That having that different lens based on the different individuals or different groups that you're working with. How do we manage to kind of take that time to do that at the same time keep good pace to really make change?
Yeah. I think it's important to take time to really have conversations. I think quality conversations are absolutely key. I think in many ways, I think to really understand what are the needs of organizations so that we're really taking a holistic approach to what's required and really understanding the talent in your organization. So what are their skills? What is their experience? What can they deliver in different ways? So I think it's about quality conversations and having appropriate conversations that will really move organizations forward, move individuals forward, but ultimately deliver business and what's required.
Yeah, definitely. I've always said that the starting point for inclusion is dialogue. If you don't have that dialogue, how can you even understand some of the things you're talking about, what the needs are, how you go forward? There's just going to be stabbing in the dark, really. So, yeah, I think that's really important.
Yeah, and I would say actually, I think it's also dialogue, not for dialogue's sake.
Mm,
So the point there, it's about understands what people need.
yeah, and there's this always look at that image, and we've a lot of us probably seen it. That image where you've got people watching a game. We're talking about a particular game before, but they've got different size boxes based on what their needs are. And I think that image really encapsulates the fact that you've got to know what the need is. It's not, as you said before, it's not just a one size fits all. If you really want to have talent, talent thrive. And talking of thriving talent, well, what for you are the signs that there's the right working culture that is empowering underrepresented talent to really thrive and be at their best?
I think one of the things for me, Lunray, is about healthy challenge. So if I'm noticing in organizations that everyone is nodding and agreeing with everything, and you're not getting that healthy challenge, for me, that's a worry. So the idea of really hearing different ideas, different perspectives, and people really bringing those different thoughts and perspectives in a way that is heard, because I recognize that not all ideas will be taken on board, but the importance of healthy challenge, I think, is really important.
Great. How do you provide a catalyst for that? Because we were having conversations, I was having a conversation on this podcast with someone else actually around sort of cultural difference as well, and how some individuals will come from a cultural background where it's seen as rude to challenge, particularly your elders. So how do you kind of create a culture where challenge is seen as a healthy thing and a good thing?
Yeah, I think it comes down to like why. What's the why behind the conversations? What's the why behind the challenge? What's the why about what you want to achieve? So I think that's really important. I think also what's the impact that's needed? And I don't just mean in terms of meeting strategic goals, but I mean in terms of morale. So what is it like to be in the organization day to day? Do people have that Sunday night feeling where they don't want to come into work, or are they kind of ready to go on a Monday, knowing that what they want to contribute will be really recognized and understood?
Yeah, and even as you said that, I remember, and I won't name the organization or the project, but there was a particular project I was working on for about 4 months, and it just sort of dropped in my spirit as you said it, that Sunday night dread. And I remember it wasn't even a Sunday night dread, it was a Sunday afternoon dread because you knew it was coming, and that feeling of, oh no, I've got to do that again. And you don't realize it, the impact that can have on how you show up. And we're talking about powering progress here. And I feel sometimes we can get lost in just the performance and or getting to the top position. But as you say, it's about your well-being, it's about your morale, because ultimately that's gonna make a real difference, isn't it?
Definitely. And I think also your point about cultural differences, I think there's a need for people to be committed. And again, I always make that distinction between interested and committed, but understanding about different cultures, understanding what different behaviors, I know, for example, if I think about different cultures, the idea of eye contact is a challenge in different ways. The idea of a child or a young person, for example, that direct eye contact with an adult necessarily wasn't seen as something that was, the right thing to do, as an example, or the idea, the challenge point, what does that look like? What does that feel like? So I think that importance of understanding different cultures, but the richness of different cultures, I think, is very important to bring into the mix. So understanding, learning, and taking a real interest in relation to what's possible as well, and turning that interest into commitment in a way that drives action and drives change.
Yeah, that's really important. And I know working with a lot of different organizations and leaders, you will see leaders in the room, you will see leaders playing a role, saying they want to be involved, showing interest. Would you be able to break down further that difference? Because I think there's a real distinction between committed and interested. And what does a committed leader do that maybe an interested leader doesn't quite do?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for me, a committed leader is one that will be proactive.
Mm.
Okay. Well, who will recognize that they don't have all the answers to challenges or opportunities. So I think that would be the starting point. I think the next point would be around thinking how things could be done differently and seeking out different people in organizations. I remember that when I was a leader in the corporate space, very often I'd go to senior leadership meetings, board meetings, and it would be the same people in the room. So different topic, same people. So the idea of bringing different people into different spaces, I think is really important. And I think the final point that I would add, it's about recognizing when you yourself need development. So that point around commitment, you don't have all of the answers all of the time. So recognizing your own development needs and showing that vulnerability in a way that enables others to show that vulnerability, and that ripple effect in organizations, and I've seen it in different ways, can be so powerful and make such a difference.
Yeah, definitely. And we're talking about powering progress here of underrepresented talent. But even as you speak, it's clear that this ultimately is about powering progress for everyone, because whether you're an aspiring leader or a leader, if you are showing that commitment, if you are taking that action, it's going to propel you forward, which hopefully also opens the door for others. And this is one of the important things we really want to come out from this, that people see the real value. And as you said, not just having conversations for conversation's sake, but having a real purpose. And I think that's something that's really interesting as you kind of share around that.
And also, often organizations will recognize, they'll say, we need to really focus on talent in different ways, and programs will be very much focused, particularly if I think about underrepresented talent. If I focus more specifically around Black people as an example, that sense of, the developments needed there, but actually there is so much talent amongst underrepresented talent, so much already, but it's often untapped. So it's about really organizations thinking through what learning is required across an organization and not just with a group of people.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think those who would say they're underrepresented or are underrepresented in their organizations, what can they do to put themselves in a position? Because you talked about being untapped, but are there things that individuals can do to kind of get more visibility, put them in a position so they can power their progress?
Yeah, I would say that so. I would say so. I work with so many talented, underrepresented talent, whether it's through programs, coaching one-to-one. And the thing that I notice, a common theme is working really, really, really hard, head down. So I think that focus on, I'm going to describe it as working smartly, talking about the work that you do, seeking out people, having conversations about the opportunities that you're interested in. So really putting yourself out there, but in a way that feels authentic to your values as well, because we don't want people to be fake, but we want people to show up in a way that enables them to be authentic, so they're able to show themselves in a way that enables them to achieve what they want to.
Yeah, definitely. How do they kind of really show? So let's say they have a particular interest in an area. How have you seen that the best way to kind of really kind of communicate that and get people on board?
Yeah. Do you know, one of the key things is about really identifying what you want to do in your career. I
Mm,
think that's one of the key points, because by doing so, you're not going to say yes to every opportunity. So I think that is really, really important. And sometimes that's hard, you
mm,
know. If I even think about myself growing up, that sense of taking on lots and lots and lots was something that was very much a feature for me and many people that I knew growing up in terms of career. So I think that's a really, really important point. And then I think the next point is then to identify different channels, whether you want to be part of a board, for example, or an interest group or your professional membership body. So I think it's really proactively thinking, where can you start to show up in a way that enables you to access opportunities and have conversations as well. I think that's the other key thing. We can't do everything by ourselves, right? We're not islands by ourselves doing our thing. So I think the importance of having conversations with people, looking at your goals and identifying who could help you to achieve what you want to.
yeah, so true. I remember I failed my accountancy exams twice, passed third time, by the way, so I did qualify, but I remember failing my accountancy exams for the second time, and pretty much the rule was like you fail twice, you're out the door. So I pretty much was thinking, oh, I also, in another episode, I talked with Paul, who actually helped me out, a partner at the time. So I managed to keep my job and do it a third time. However, I remember after finding that result, and I remember getting a notebook out and literally writing down the names of all the people who I think I might need to give a call who's going to help me on my next direction. And it is that thing. You've got to really understand your network. You've got to see who you're going to have the conversations with, and also then have a plan of, well, what am I going to say to these good people, basically to help move me forward. But as you're right, because on my own, I probably would have just cried and cried for a couple of weeks. But with people around you, can give you that energy, support, and I know you're very big around kind of your network and professional relationships. Yeah, we'd love to hear more. What impact can that really have? A strong network and strong professional relationships.
Yeah. I talk a lot about your empowerment network, because for me, the starting point is recognizing all that you have within yourself, but it's about having an empowerment network. And I say quality over quantity. So the idea isn't you have lots and lots of people, in my view, but it's about having a group of people who you can have conversations with, who can challenge you, who can be your cheerleader, and really having different people in a way that enables you to say, do you know what? I'm really good at X, or do you know what, I need support in Y. So I think that's so, so important. That cannot be underestimated. And I say that from my own personal experience, where often I was head down. But I would also say, if I think about people that I work with now, the impact of reaching out to people, because it's not, I think the other thing to add is it's not one way. You are always bringing something. So there is always mutual benefit. But I think the key thing is recognizing the benefit that you bring to those conversations, whether it's with a sponsor, whether it's a mentor, whoever that might be, there is always some kind of mutual benefit. I think that's key.
What's the difference when you have that mindset shift? Because I know, talking to a lot of people, when you talk about mentoring, I'm running a mentoring program at the moment, and you've sometimes got to keep hammering home that message. It's not just one way. But when someone gets it, that I can give as much as what I'm likely to receive, what do you think happens in terms of how they power their progress?
Magic. Things move forward, things happen.
Mm.
I think that's the thing. Things happen, Lunray, again, just thinking about people that I know, whether it's people that I've worked with in the past or people that I now partner with in terms of the work that I do. Things happen more quickly. People learn more, and people learn more about you. Opportunities are created in different ways. You create opportunities. Just things happen more quickly. New opportunities, new ideas, happiness, quite frankly, because you're doing the stuff that you love and you're having those conversations. So that's what I would add there.
Oh, great, great. And even just the sound of it, feel of it, of the action, of being involved, because I know, and we be interested to get your thoughts on this as well, because yes, there are definitely challenges. Yes, there are barriers for some individuals and groups to trying to navigate their career. But at the same time, um, we do want people to take ownership as well of their careers, don't we? We want them to say, actually, there may be some challenges, there may be some barriers, but this is what I can influence. This is what I can still give. And as you said, that creates learning, that creates doors being open. But just on those obstacles and barriers, because we don't want to deny that they exist. How can individuals still do all those things we're talking about, stay motivated, stay engaged and empowered, despite some of those barriers that they've been maybe hitting up against for a period of time?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's recognizing that those barriers do exist. So it's not in people's heads. I think that's really important. Like, recognize they are there. So in self-care, the importance of self-care is key. What are the things that nourish you from the inside? What are the things that make you happy? So make sure that time is focused on that. I think also the opportunity to be quite bold. So if you're noticing that there are people who are progressing, perhaps at a faster pace than you, reach out to those people. They don't necessarily have to be your best friends, right? But an opportunity to say, actually, what are you doing? How are you doing it? So I think that's really important. We have to sometimes step outside of our comfort zones into a space of courage.
Mm,
I think also putting out there what you would like.
mm,
Yeah. Having conversations with your line manager, colleagues, going to networking opportunities and talking about what you do and what you bring. Very often, people, their heads are, life is busy in all sorts of ways. And often our heads are down. And it's about really elevating ourselves and talking about ourselves. This isn't about bragging. I think that's important to add. This is about recognizing what you bring and the value that you bring, because you do.
yeah, and you do see it. And again, even going back to the example I talked about when I was going to lose my job, had a disciplinary meeting, and they were about to fire me. But at the time, I remember pulling out what I'd done. I'd been in a few articles. I'd been in, and I said, "Look, if you fire me, yeah, you can do, but you're going to lose this. Like, find me." And I didn't say it like that, but the message was kind of find me someone else who's done this, and it helped. It worked out. And you again, as you said, it's not boasting, but you've got to have that confidence and belief in yourself. And in a way, it's you're saying, this is the value I bring you. I want you to still have this value. And if it's trying to move up in your organization or trying to work with someone, it's saying, this is not just for me, this is actually for you. And it goes back to what you're talking about, being really clear on what you give and what you offer, because no longer does it start to feel like you're begging for an opportunity or you're begging for a chance. You're saying, look, give me this chance because it's going to help everyone and help things move forward. And it's that mindset shift, which can be hard. Let's
It's really hard.
say that it is. But once you've got it, that confidence, that inner confidence, yeah, it can definitely go far.
It's huge. And here's a statement I want to say: your work does not speak for itself.
Mm,
And when I say that, when I drop that, often it's a mic drop moment because people are a bit like, sorry, but your work doesn't speak for itself. It's part of the package, it's part of your brand, but it doesn't alone. So you've got to talk about what you do. Yeah.
mm,
And find your voice. Find those people who can enable you to achieve what you want to. Define career success for yourself. So I'm really honing in here and harnessing the power of you and what you want to do, and defining it for yourself.
yeah, definitely. And another thing that I know you're passionate about and speak a lot about, which I believe is so important around this conversation, because yes, we can really kind of drive deep into the conversation about your performance and your work and all the things you need to do, and if you're not careful, it can consume you, especially if you've got ambition and goals to really thrive. Um, and what we can't forget is the importance of the work-life balance. And I guess that's that question of what actually defines success for you. Is it just everything you do in work? So, yeah, I'd love to hear from your experience and your perspectives around powering your progress, but within the work-life balance that is going to allow you to really thrive.
Yeah. Well, I would say rather than work-life balance, I'd talk about work-life integration.
Mm,
I think really important. We don't want to set ourselves up for failure. And I know that, if we think about our lives very often, sometimes those jigsaw pieces will vary day to day, week to week. So I think that sense of seeing your life holistically and knowing that sometimes that work jigsaw may be really quite big, but at other points it will be smaller. So I think really first and foremost, thinking about that work-life integration piece. What do you want in your life? Those around you, really kind of taking different perspectives into account. And then really harnessing the power in you in terms of deciding what do you want out of your life? How does your career fit in? Do you know what's really interesting? If I think about when I was growing up, as an example, very often the focus was on traditional careers, accountancy, lawyer, doctor. There are so many more careers now. People are talking more and more about portfolio careers, that being a great thing. And it so is. So I think that sense of career meaning different things to different people at different points in our lives is really important.
yeah, definitely. And that piece around the jigsaw and different pieces, and even as you said at the start, it's not one size fits all. So some people might have a jigsaw with 20 different pieces they've got to put together. Some people might have the type of jigsaw my daughter has at the moment, where it's just four big pieces, and but so it's just and that can change
Yeah.
over time. As a leader, when you're trying to support all these people with these different jigsaw puzzles and different pieces, kind of what advice would you give to a leader trying to support all of that and empower the progress of others?
Take a step back and look at your people. Take a step back and look at what they bring, the value that they bring. Have conversations with them. Have conversations, real talk is what I'm saying here. Have conversations, co-create opportunities,
Mhm.
have healthy and challenging conversations, but really and truly recognize that one size doesn't fit all. That difference between equality and equity really comes into the mix here. Recognizing differences, different needs, different requirements will lead to greatness.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure you've seen that in the work that you do, where sometimes with the best of intentions, but maybe organizations and leaders are sometimes trying to solve everything through one program or one type of thing, and you pull everyone through it. And it may work for some, but there's going to be people that for whatever reason it doesn't give what's needed. So being able to take that step back, as you said, and really understand, goes back to what you said, just tailoring it is really, really important, and finding that specific kind of support.
Definitely, definitely. And sometimes, support may not be what is required. It may be opportunity. So this is why I talk about the importance of your empowerment network, because again, that talent is there, but it's about unleashing it. And what are the channels? What are the opportunities? What's the conversation that needs to happen to enable that underrepresented talent to really thrive in an authentic way that delivers change, that delivers impact?
Yeah. What do you see as kind of the future if we get this right, if leaders get this right, if organizations get this right, if those aspiring to be leaders get this right, what do you see as the sort of outcomes?
Gosh, my gosh, healthy organizations.
Mm.
Uh, when I say healthy, I mean problems, what's seen as problems are seen as opportunities. Courageous action is taken. Um, Great customer experiences, great internal journeys in terms of how people progress in organizations. Um, Much more diversity, recognizing the impact that different voices can have. I think the opportunities are endless, Lanray. I just think there's so much. There's so much.
Yeah, yeah. No, and again, it's good to hear. It's good to talk about this because it goes back to what you say. We're not just talking about this for the sake of it or to fill up some time. It's where are we? Where are our organizations? What does a culture look like? But what can we get to? What difference will this really make? And one of the reasons why we have to keep talking about it, because I know sometimes, especially when we talk about topics in relation to leadership and diversity and equity, in some areas there's this feeling of, oh, we've done enough, or there's fatigue around it. But listening to you shows that we've not done enough at all. That actually there's so much more. We need to go deeper, we need to go broader, we need to go wider, we need to look at things from so many different perspectives in order to make progress.
Absolutely. And recognizing leadership at all levels in an organization. Leadership doesn't just sit at the top, it's at all levels. It's about self-awareness, it's about belief, it's about problem solving, it's about impact in different ways. So I think that importance that leadership is at all levels in an organization is really, really key.
Yeah. I did say at the start that there's going to be a lot that people will take from listening to you, and here you go. Proof of it. So I'm sure people listening, whether you are a senior leader, whether you are an aspiring leader, no matter where you are, whether you feel there's opportunities or not, I'm sure there's things here that people can just take, and I'd really urge you just to take some of this and commitment, not just be interested in it, and so use some of your language as well, not just be interested in what's been said and what you can do, actually commit to doing it and seeing some of the difference. So Marsha, really thank you for all of that. Last question, really like to get your thoughts on what does powering progress look like for you personally over the coming months, coming years, however long you want to do it. What's personal powering progress look like for you?
I think it's that point about really pushing myself out of my comfort zone more of the time, continuing to do the work that I love to do. But I think for me, taking it on a level where I'm able to work with more organizations, perhaps more challenging organizations as well, because I have a big thing around working with organizations that are committed, but maybe there's also something here about me having conversations with organizations that are interested and thinking about what opportunities could arise from conversations like that. But continuing to do work that I love, continuing to partner with amazing people, but not talking for talking's sake, and making sure action is absolutely part of the deal as well.
Yeah, no, fantastic. That's fascinating. I was just thinking in my mind, moving the interested to the committed, and how powerful that is. So yeah, no, thank you for sharing. So we have come to time. It's been a real pleasure. The time's just flown by, but a real pleasure kind of talking with you and hearing your insights and your experiences. And as I said, I'm sure that it's really going to have an impact on those listening. So we'll definitely have to get you back on at some point soon. It's been a real pleasure, Marsha.
A pleasure to be here. Thank you, Lanray, for the invitation. It's been great.
No worries. And thank you all for listening. Look forward to connecting with you very soon. But for now, keep powering your progress. Take care. Bye bye.